I want you to know I usually have 3 or 4 like false starts on each of these videos. So I have a lot of conversations with you and to you that you'll never know about. And they're usually hilarious. Hey, I'm Father Mark Mary with Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, and this is Essential Presents. We got a plague, we got a problem, young or old, religious or clerical or lay or whatever, and it is the big old petty plague, pettiness. I struggle with it. I imagine you struggle with it. And pettiness is this. Pettiness, right? It's like, it's taking something very small and turning it into something very big. And so much of our difficulties that we're having with people, they're petty. They're petty problems, right? It's like, here's a pretty small thing. Here's a small difficulty with my coworker, with my classmate, with my roommate, with my spouse, with my brother in religious life or priesthood, and I focus on it. And I turn it into this big old thing, and it bothers me, and it divides our relationship, and it takes me away from the Lord and sends me to the confessional, right? Because like I just keep messing up because of this little thing. Okay, so I want to talk about this is how do we handle pettiness? How do we handle these temptations to pettiness? And it's very much this. It's like it's like a seed planted by the evil one. Like this little idea. Like look at what he's doing. He keeps doing that. And then it kind of grows, and you kind of dig into it, and you expand upon it, and you let it grow, and you expand upon it, and then you give reasons for it, and you give motivations for it, and you build this whole narrative about how terrible this person because they like forget to turn off lights when they leave a room, right? And so the pettiness, like first, like we gotta admit, like pettiness is like a small thing we make a big thing. It's a problem. And what I want to do is this. Is I'm not going to get too much into the petty problem because I think it's so ubiquitous, so common, we all kind of can see it in our lives. But what I want to do is this. I want to offer 3 ways for us to combat it. So number 1, make a firm resolve to not be a petty person. When you live in community, like people see you and people get to know you, and you see people and you get to know them. And I was reading this book in novitiate, and it was like 50 years old, and it was about these Carthusian monks. So like these really like serious, like all in for Jesus kind of guys. And it's explaining how the chapel for them became this battleground. And it became this place where the petty plague showed its ugly face. And there would be these great conflicts over the pace of prayer. Over the way in which like the bell rope was passed from one guy to another. Like if they did it without looking at them, if they did it in a way that felt like aggressive. And these little things, it became these points of like this big, massive points of conflict. And if you're anything like me, you're probably hopefully having this experience like that's ridiculous. Really? Your biggest concern in life is like the pace that you're praying the Psalms or how somebody passes the rope to you? And I'll admit this, like I understand from the monastic point of view, because your life is so small and tight and intimate, and you're never like they're never talking to each other, like these small things can get misinterpreted and become big things. So I kind of get that. But at the same time, God used this moment and he spoke to me and he said this to me. He said basically like never become that, or never let that happen to you. And I just made this resolution with the help of grace, like, okay, you know what? When I recognize pettiness in myself, I have this memory of like how ugly it is and how like ridiculous and unreasonable and disproportionate it is. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be a petty guy. So what I'm going to offer to you, like first of all, is if this story, if it's some experience of pettiness you've had, just make this resolution. Like that's below me. That's below me. I'm not a petty person. I'm not going to give in to pettiness. And if I'm experiencing it, I'm going to cast it out. The second practice to sort of help deal with any temptation towards pettiness you may be experiencing comes from at least part of the serenity prayer. This part of the serenity prayer, the beginning of it goes like this: Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? Let's give a real life example. I'm in seminary, And here's this weird thing. I don't know what it is, but you can probably diagnose me and let me know what it is in the comments. Thank you. When I hear something, I like hyper focus on it. And so when I'm in a classroom and there's the teacher, he's presenting, whatever it is, when I hear somebody like shaking their ice cup or like chewing on something that's kind of like crunchy chips, whatever, like it like hijacks my attention and I can't like not focus on it. And it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. But let's be honest, it's a small thing. It's a small thing. It's a petty thing. So what I did was this. There's a couple of classmates, a couple of brothers actually, friars. One of them, he was like playing the maracas every class with his eyes, and it drove me nuts. So I basically I let him know, like, hey, what's the deal with the ice and the like eating trail mix or whatever during class? Just so you know, like, I always hear it and I just fixate on it. All right, so I told him, and that gave me peace. It didn't let this like great resentment thing. They're like, oh yeah, sorry, I'll work on it, whatever. You know, I just like my drink with ice and I like chewing on stuff to help me stay awake, whatever. And you know what happened? Nothing. They just kept playing the maracas for 4 years with their cup of ice. And the thing is this, it was just like for this guy, for one of the brothers, who's a very good friend of mine, it was just kind of like a habit. It was just something he did. It wasn't ill. There weren't ill motives. There wasn't a really big issue. What it led for me to have to do is this. Okay, the way to solve this and to not let it become a big thing which divides us and breaks our unity and our fraternity is now, okay, I'm not going to change his ice maraca. I'm not going to change his ice shaking. So I want to work on me, you know. And I'm just going to learn to be strong enough to deal with it, and to be strong enough of a man and strong enough of a Christian that a little bit of an annoyance isn't going to rock my world. So I put it into practice, right? I did what I could, I accepted what I couldn't, and I gave it to the Lord at the service of the unity for which we're all called. And it helped a lot. So if something's going on in your life, and it's a small petty thing with a coworker, maybe you just bring it up very charitably, very kindly. Maybe it changes. If it doesn't change, then that's the opportunity for you to change. Again, at the service of a family, a fraternity, of unity, which is at the heart of Christianity. And finally is this. Pettiness is a problem of perspective, right? Like, we need to keep things in perspective. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, because there is maybe no better medicine, definitely for pettiness, but for most of our problems, there's no better medicine than the regular meditation upon our Lord's passion. Like, when you look at the crucifix and you pray with the crucifix, it puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? Like, his love for us, his love for the annoying guy who can't turn off lights or who can't stop chewing his ice. But also like it reveals God's love for all of us, but it also reveals my own sins. My sins are not petty. My sins are what leads to the crucifix. So my brothers and sisters, like, it's not easy, it's not fun, but it's good. It's good to take our medicine, the medicine of the cross, to pray with this beautiful and profound perspective-giving mystery of God's love for us. All right, I think it's helpful. I think it's practical. You can let me know down below in the comments. We'll see you again next week. Remember, we're pilgrims. Somos peregrinos poco a poco. Vamos a llegar. We're going to make it. Thanks so much. God bless.